Here is question 4. We have f of x is equal to x minus 3 over x all squared. So working in order, we first check for brackets, which we do have, so we need to get rid of those brackets. Since we've got a binomial squared, we know that it is going to result in a trinomial. To get the first term, we square the first term, which would be x squared. To get the middle term, we are going to multiply both terms together and then times by 2. So what's going to happen here, if we multiply all of the coefficients, we would get negative 6. What happens when you multiply x being in the numerator and x being in the denominator? They cancel out with each other. So the middle term ends up being negative 6. And to get the third term, we square the second term. So multiply that second term by itself. Here's what we get. Firstly, negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 3 is 9. And in the denominator, x times x is x squared. So our third term is plus 9 over x squared. So we've got rid of the brackets. Now we go on to surds. We do not have any surds in the question, but we do have a variable in the denominator. Here it is. So we need to move that variable out of the denominator. So to do that, we are going to take that x squared and move it to the top. So it'll now be next to 9. Remember, what happens is the exponent becomes negative. Now that we've done our 3 important steps, we can now differentiate. So differentiating, we're going to have 2 times the coefficient. Remember, the coefficient here is 1. So we'll be left with the 2x. Remember, multiply the exponent with the coefficient and minus 1 from the exponent. Now what happens to negative 6? Remember, there is an important rule that states that the derivative of a constant is 0. No matter what the constant is, when you differentiate, it becomes 0. Now the good thing is that you don't need to show it. You don't actually need to say plus 0, but to us it just seems like the constant falls away. Going on to the third term, exponent times coefficient gives you negative 18, and we minus 1 from the exponent. So we had negative 2 times positive 9, and when we minus 1 from the exponent, we get negative 3. Now what about the next step? That would be the correct notation. We had f of x, that becomes f prime x. And the last step is to get positive exponents. So our first term is fine. The second term is a problem because we have this negative exponent. So to change that, well, for now we'll keep the first step as is. And to change that in the second step, the negative 18 stays in the numerator, the variable goes to the denominator, and its exponent now becomes positive. So this is your final answer.